So let's come on to treatment and management. As anybody who knows, with a head shaking horse, lots of treatments. Few studies looking at how these drugs actually work in horses. Loads of anecdotal reports, but the big problem with anecdotal reports is there's a lack of any objective assessment for head shaking. So although you can say your horse head shakes really badly, it's very difficult to actually quantitate how bad it's doing it today compared to how bad it's doing it in a week's time on the drug, unless it's a marked change, which is unusual with most drugs. It's very difficult to say objectively how different it is. That's something we're working on at the moment, getting a better objective measure. We have horses that naturally wax and wane with this, that spontaneously or seasonally go into remission. So how do we know that a treatment's worked and the horse hasn't just stopped? And the good old placebo effect, we desperately want something to work. The placebo effect.
That's it. Side against the wall, bottom in the corner. And that's him coming down again. But it's having the same effect. He's shortening the muscles on the inside of his body there. He's contracting them and working hard. And then he's using the muscles on the outside of the bend to have control of the motion. And this is going back to my first horse, Neo. So he's reaching down towards his hock here, and you can see how much bend there actually is in the spine and how he's having to contract the muscles. He's working the muscles on the inside of that bend so hard that he's pulling his tail over. He doesn't have a problem with tail carriage, it's normally straight. But what he's doing is he's switching on the muscles on the inside of the curve, then that's why that tail's going over. So let's have a look now at the carrot stretches into flexion, so the rounding. So on the left here with Neo, we've got chin to chest, in the middle, chin to knees, and then on the right hand side, we've got chin between fetlock. Now, the chin to chest creates a lot of flexion and bend in the top of the cervical spine, and it actually causes extension of the lower cervical spine. So if you've got a problem with the neck that might get irritated by them being in that sort of up on the bit position, you might not want to do glycogen.
If you haven't heard of glycogen before, glycogen is simply lots of sugars joined together. And if we were talking about a plant, we'd be talking about starch. So glycogen is the animal equivalent of starch in plants. Now, the great thing about the carbohydrate stores are that we've got a nice big hose to fill this bucket quite rapidly. With fat, the problem is we've not got a very wide hose, so we can't actually keep this bucket, we can't supply ATP energy at the same rate from fat. So we've got these two sources, one of which is a small store, but which is a fast supply and is going to run out quickly. And we've got another which is a big store, but which is a slow supply, so that's going to go on for a long period of time. Now there's one, in terms of where these are in the body and how much of them there are, around 90% of the glycogen that's in a horse's body is stored within its muscles, not just this muscle here, muscles all over the body, and about 10% is stored in the liver. If we look at fat, we've got about 10%, only about 10% of the fat stored within the muscle, and most of it is stored in what we call adipose tissue sites, which are these areas